I'm John Cranton with JimFeist.com. We're going to take a look at the 2014 AFC East NFL Football Preview. You know, the AFC East really only has one elite quarterback in Tom Brady and a whole lot of nothing for the most part. So the Patriots are once again the favorite to dominate the AFC East. Now in Vegas, the Patriots are projected for 10 wins over or under. New England has been to 3 consecutive AFC title games, and they're once again certainly a top contender to return. They were 12-4 last year, 8-0 at home, but only 4-4 on the road. They flip-flopped from a team that was deadly on offense with a suspect defense. The offense struggled a little bit last year, went from being tops in the NFL in scoring 2 years ago with a point differential of over 200, and they cut that in half last year as the point differential went to plus 106, and the offense dropped off considerably. Now quarterback Tom Brady, he's going to be 37 years old when the season starts, off a campaign where he had 25 touchdowns, 11 picks, 4,343 yards. Slot wide receiver Danny Amendola had 633 yards, and tight end Rob Gronkowski chipped in 592. Both these guys are really terrific when healthy, but they really never are, which puts more pressure on wide receiver Julian Edelman. He had over 1,000 yards receiving and was re-signed. And they have young wide receiver 6'3" Aaron Dobson, pretty good as a rookie with 519 yards, but had a foot injury and caused him to miss some time. This offense, though, for the Patriots was balanced, 9th in the NFL in passing, 10th in rushing, a spread attack that creates gaps in the defense and allows running backs like Stephen Ridley to get some yards. He had 773 yards last year, 4.3 yards per carry. The Patriots' offensive line slipped considerably last year as quarterback Tom Brady was sacked 40 times. That was the most since his first season back in 2001. And the Patriots are on an 8-4 run over the total. Now the Patriots' defense finished 18th against the pass, 30th against the run with a ton of injuries. They're really loaded this fall. Nose tackle Vince Wilfork is back healthy, and they have a slew of hard-hitting young linebackers. Though these linebackers are not very good in pass coverage. Secondary has been awful of late, but really adds a star cornerback Darrelle Revis and 6'4" Brandon Brower from Seattle. These are 2 physical cornerbacks. Those guys are going to completely change what the defense is capable of. Got to believe Bill Belichick is going to be able to bring the blitz more with this outstanding secondary. Now, can the pass reach 10 wins again? They probably can. Yeah, they open with 4 of 6 on the road, but they're going to be healthy then. And they're all winnable games on the road at Miami, at Minnesota, at Kansas City, and Buffalo. The bye week for them is in week 10, which is a big plus, and they play 6 of their final 10 games on the road. Now, in 2011, this team was 12-7 over the total. 2 years ago, 12-6 over the total, and last year they finished on an 8-4 run over the total. On the Miami Dolphins, they're projected in Vegas at 7.5 wins. They're off an 8-8 campaign, 9-7 against the spread, 4-4 at home, 4-4 on the road. Thought of by many as an up-and-coming team in the AFC East, but really they probably aren't going to be that significant a team. First of all, Miami likes his quarterback Ryan Tannehill, and they got him wide receiver Mike Wallace last year. But really, even with Wallace, he finished with 24 touchdowns and 17 interceptions on an offense that finished 20th in the NFL in passing, 26 in rushing. The main reason was an awful offensive line with an NFL high 58 sacks. So they've totally revamped the unit. 4 of 5 new starters step in. They got free agent left tackle Brandon Albert from Kansas City. He's going to be age 30. And left guard Shelley Smith. The 2 of them are new, along with rookie right guard Billy Turner and right tackle Jawan James. He was taken with the 19th overall pick out of Tennessee. Joe Philbin, the coach, prefers zone blocking, and all 4 of these guys on paper are athletic and much better fit for zone blocking. And of course, center Mike Pouncey is a keeper. So the offensive line is going to be better. Well, they can't be any worse. Running back Lamar Miller was pretty good last year, 709 yards, but just 4 yards per carry. He should be better. And the wide receivers are fine with Brian Hartland and Mike Wallace, who had 930 yards in his inaugural campaign. And Hartline has had over 1,000 yards receiving in each of the last 2 years. Miami is on an 8-2 run under the total. They scored a total of 7 points in the last 2 games of last fall. Now, the defense of Miami, certainly more concerns here. ranked 24th against the run, 16th against the pass. They are great at getting to the passer, starting with defensive end Olivia Vernon, 11.5 sacks. Nose tackle Randy Starks is solid, and Pro Bowl pass rusher Cameron Wake is back, 15 and 18.5 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons. The secondary has new looks, starting with cornerback Cortland Finnegan. He comes over from the Rams, and they're going to ask more of a pair of 2003 third-round cornerbacks in Jamar Taylor and Will Davis. Still a lot more question marks and a lot of room for improvement. The schedule for Miami, kind of difficult. Long road trip to Oakland in September. Then they got to host Green Bay, Kansas City, San Diego, Pats, and Baltimore. All are going to be tough games. The bye week is a little early in week 5, after which they play 4 of 6 games in mid-season on the road. Miami has ended the last 2 years on runs of 9-2-1 and 8-2 under the total. In fact, you go back 3 full years, the Dolphins are 33-15-2 under the total. We're going to look at third place as the New York Jets. 6.5 wins. Vegas has them over or under. They overachieved last year, 8-8 straight up, 9-5-1 against the spread, despite the second worst passing offense in the NFL, averaging 183.3 yards. Now, 2 quarterbacks for the Jets combined for 13 touchdowns, 22 picks, and 47 sacks. They ranked 29th in the NFL with just 18.1 points per game. And quarterback Geno Smith had 12 touchdowns, 21 picks, looking a lot like Mark Sanchez, actually, with a 54.8% completions. That's why they bring in 34-year-old Michael Vick. He's off a season where he threw 5 touchdowns and 3 picks with Philadelphia. Vick has never been a very good completion percentage, though. In the last 3 years, we've seen his percentage go from 59.8 to 58% to 54.6% in that order, all below average for NFL quarterbacks. They got rookie quarterback Taj Boyd in camp, and the passing game adds Texas Tech tight end Jace Amaro and wide receiver Eric Decker from the Broncos, which means Decker's numbers are going to plummet, probably along with his career. Now, the ground game for the Jets was very good, 6th in the NFL in rushing with 134.9 yards per game. They got running back Chris Ivory back with 833 yards, 4.6 yards per carry. And they had running back Chris Johnson from Tennessee. He's going to be 29 years old in September. He did run for 1,077 yards last year, just 3.9 yards per carry. Offensive coordinator Marty Morningwig, he prefers a West Coast attack that's a short, safe passing game. So this is probably going to be a conservative run-first offense in New York again. Now, New York had a salary cap purge 2 years ago, letting go of veteran players, and they've rebuilt the defense very quickly. The defense last year ranked 22nd against the pass, 3rd against the run. They used their 2013 draft pick to grab Alabama cornerback Dee Milliner and Missouri defensive tackle Sheldon Richardson with a number 9 and 13 picks in the draft that year. And for this season, they add Calvin Pryor with the number 18th overall pick. You combine him with 24-year-old defensive lineman Muhammad Wilkinson. He has 11 sacks last year. The front line also has 33-year-old Calvin Pace at linebacker. He had 11 sacks. And David Price anchors a very strong linebacking core. He is 30 years old. So it's a very strong defense overall for Rex Ryan, despite that 500 campaign. Now, the Jets were outscored by 97 points last year. Only the Browns, Jags, Texans, and Raiders were worse in the AFC, so they certainly overachieved. And the schedule for the Jets, they're going to open 1-0, probably playing the Oakland Raiders. But boy, after that, very tough schedule. They're going to be playing at Green Bay, at the Bears, at the Lions, at the Chargers. That's a 3,000-mile road trip. They're also going to be hosting the Broncos. They're going to be playing at New England, part of a brutal 6-week stretch. Bye week for the Jets is in week 11, which is not ideal. And after that, they play 4 of their final 6 games on the road, probably a 500 team in New York at best. Finally, the Buffalo Bills are projected at 6.5 wins in Vegas. Buffalo's really been moving sideways, 3 consecutive seasons of 6-10, and also 26-1 against the spread. Last year they were 4-4 at home, but 2-6 straight up ATS on the road. So Doug Marrone, he's rolled the dice to try and shake out things up in Buffalo, and really you're not going to recognize this team. Buffalo ranked 28th in the NFL in passing offense. They were 2nd in rushing with 144.2 yards per game. They took their lumps with rookie quarterback E.J. Manuel, 11 touchdowns, 9 picks. In fact, 3 quarterbacks for Buffalo combined for 16 touchdowns and 15 picks and a whopping 48 sacks. Now, the Bills' offensive line has some considerable size for this year. They really got big through free agency with Chris Williams. He's 6'6", 326 pounds, and through the draft with 6'7", Cyrus Coendio from the second round, and a couple of other guys like Cyril Richardson and Santre Henderson. They bring immense size to the Buffalo offensive line. The offensive backfield is loaded with running backs Fred Jackson. He had 890 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, and C.J. Spillner with 933 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, despite some injuries. Also added some depth with Bryce Brown coming over from the Eagles. The wide receiver core is totally different. Stevie Johnson is gone, so you're going to see rookie wide receiver Sammy Watkins coming in from Clemson, and 27-year-old wide receiver Mike Williams comes over from the Tampa Bay Bucks. He only had 216 yards last year, but the previous 3 years, 996, 771, and 964 yards. They also add wide receiver Robert Woods. He had 587 yards as a rookie. Now, Buffalo's defensive scheme is going to change under their new defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz after Mike Pettine left to coach the Cleveland Browns. And the defense 2 years ago was 28th in run defense, and they didn't get much better last year. So they've added linebacker Brandon Spikes from the Patriots. Wasn't really much of a run stuffer. And 2 years ago they were 31st against the run. Last year, 28th. So they've had some major problems the last 2 years in stopping the run. One plus, though, is that they're very good at getting the quarterback. Bills led the NFL with 57 sacks. Mario Williams had double digits in sacks along with Kyle Williams and Jerry Hughes. Secondary has some new looks with cornerback Corey Graham in free agency, and Ross Cockrell comes over from Duke, a fourth-round pick in the draft, and Jarius Byrd now in New Orleans. Because of that, Aaron Williams is going to shift to free safety. The schedule for the Buffalo Bills: 3 of their first games are on the road. They're going to be playing at the Bears, Texans, and Lions. Later on, they got some tough road games at the Jets, Patriots, Dolphins, Broncos, and Raiders, a long road trip. So tough to see this rebuilding team having a winning season. And keep in mind, Buffalo is on a 12-16 spread run. Make sure you check out JimFeist.com for more season previews in the NFL and college, as well as free stats, articles, and videos.